Kingdom greetings, Karen.
And Stanley.
Pina here. And we just want to come today. I had a dream last night and I want to share some things with you from that dream. In the dream, I was living with my mom, so we're going back umpteen years ago, 20 plus, and our daughters were young. And my mother was in the dream prompting me to do some things with our daughter. And I really wasn't ready to do those things right quite at that moment. And she kept going on and on and on. And I said, okay, in a few minutes I'll get to it. And she kept going on. And then finally I said, sometimes people just want a break and they want to be left alone. And she replied, that's the problem. People want to be left alone. They want to do things on their time. And so I got up at that moment and I left the room and I went into the room where I was staying at that time and I closed the door and I locked it. I knew she was going to follow behind me, which is why I locked the door. And she came bussing through the door and still continuing to insist, you are going to do this. And I looked and I said, really? Really? You're kidding me. You're bussing down your own door to get me to do this on your timetable. And then I woke up. And when I woke up, the first thought that came to my mind was, Merry Christmas! Why? Because I am no longer in bondage to that foolishness. I don't have to go to anyone's house. I'm not going to anyone's house. And it brought me such joy that I'm not in that place anymore. So I know that you have heard that we should be celebrating the feast, Passover, so forth and so on, not Christmas. Christmas didn't take, Yeshua wasn't born during this time of the year. There was no snow on the ground. Why are we celebrating it at this time of the year? And I could go on and on and on both sides of reasons why we should and should not be celebrating Christmas. This is not that video. The message that Yeshua wants you to receive from this video is this. Take a look at what you're doing and see if what you're doing is making the word of God of none effect. The scripture says tradition makes the word of God of none effect. So if there's any tradition that you are holding on to that is making Yeshua in you ineffective, making his power in you lack its efficacy, meaning you're not demonstrating any fruit at that specific moment. There's no love, there's no joy, there's no peace. Then what are you really, really celebrating and why? And should you continue to celebrate that? So this is really a challenge, although you might have heard whether you should or shouldn't before. This is a challenge and just a new way of looking at things to see if you're in bondage to meeting the demands of tradition, of men. You got to be there at a certain time. You got to bring a certain dish, on and on and on. And before you're even there for an hour or two, either you or someone is arguing. So, honey, what are your thoughts?
Tradition. A perfect example of a belief system, which is what a belief system has. It drives people, drives all of us. Unfortunately, like in the holidays, I heard a broadcaster media personnel yesterday talking about Santa Claus, and you can go to their radar system and their .com, and see where he is traveling. It's a tradition like that some people may say it's Santa Claus, it's harmless, this and that, but it's that tradition that in the world we have today, it's impacting people, children as well as adults, and it's from what we're seeing in this world today, we should not be embracing any tradition that is not driving us to God, not driving us to God, but away from God. Is God pleased with the tradition of men? And today we should not be running again from God, but to God.
That's right. So look at some of the symbols, in anything. Is it Santa that we're worshiping versus Yeshua? Is it the tree versus the cross? Salah. These are the thoughts we want to leave you with today.
Grace and peace.